finally, I need it.
Did you fly to O'Hare today? O'Hare?
Oh, yeah,
Today, right?
yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Port Royal October Council Workshop. First order of business tonight is we have a presentation from staff on some new employees.
Yes, we have Kayla Little, right, if you want to come up to.
Kayla, come on up.
They'll probably have a couple questions for you.
About 10 or 15.
Just give a short synopsis, you know, but
Hi, I'm Kayla Little. I'm the new administrative specialist for the town of Port Royal.
Very good.
Congratulations.
So,
Thank you.
congratulations, welcome to the family and welcome to Port Royal. So what areas are you going to be working in as an administrative specialist?
I've been doing a little bit of everything so far. I'm trying to learn how to be cross-trained, so if one of our girls is out on vacation or out sick, we can all chip in and take care of the work.
That's great, good news. I'm sure council has questions.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Take a moment to gather your thoughts and just 30 seconds, kind of brag on yourself a little bit. Introduce us to Kayla Little.
So I was born in Beaufort at Beaufort Memorial Hospital. Left with the military for my dad. Came back about 6 years ago. I did 8 years in retail, 8 years in banking, and then came into the town role.
Nice. Very good.
Very good.
Well, welcome to Port Royal. Look forward to working with you.
And welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home.
Thanks. I've been back 6 years now.
Yes.
Anybody else, any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting
If
everybody.
you need anything, let us know.
Yes, sir.
Next item, Ben, is interviews.
Yes, I believe we have one for the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it's Stephen Workmeister?
It's not here
Workmeister.
Not here.
yet.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, we'll skip this. Not that there's a lot. We'll skip this and hopefully he'll arrive and we'll be able to go back to it. So council briefing.
All right, we'll start with redevelopment commission. That seems to be a regular starting point for the briefing. They are still meeting monthly and discussing or working on recommendations for changes or improvements to the overlay. Noah walked them through, I think, very thoroughly at the last redevelopment commission meeting. Lots of questions relative to what sorts of uses we might have that might be entitled to the exemption. I know one of the big discussion points as well was the application of the tree ordinance and how that applies to particular uses in the quarter. I do not recall if they came with any specific recommendations that they wanted them to act on yet. Not yet, no. But they were kind of reviewing Noah's work on the creation of the overlay.
Can I make a comment just while it's on my mind?
Yeah.
I know when we put our tree ordinance in place, we said we were gonna set a time, like 6 months or whatever, to go back and review. I just wanna make sure we're still gonna continue to do that.
Right.
I don't know what that 6 month, I don't know what that timeframe
Right
look
after the
like.
first of the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and then Noah has been compiling information
Good.
because of that request.
I wanna make sure that we do that,
Correct.
please.
Okay. All right, and then attached next is the number of Town of Port Royal projects. Royal Palms, obviously, we have all the residents tied in. I know Councilman Ashmore had a question about the last big pile of dirt. We were gonna talk with Jeff to see if he wanted to relocate that to Public Works for our use, since we had indeed paid for it. So I think that's one of the last outstanding items, other than some pay requests for that particular project. So that one is getting wrapped up tonight.
It looks good, they've done a real good job, they cleaned up nicely and it looks really good.
And they're not making any more dirt, so there's no reason, let's keep what's in the town in the town.
Right. Next is Dawson Place drainage improvements met on site with Four Waters. And that's just kind of a redirection. We've got some water that's sheeting off of Old Shell that we're trying to prevent from going down Dawson Place. And obviously, as part of that, we'll be looking at the resurfacing work and how it integrates with those improvements also. Speed humps, we have something that we will circulate to all potential locations. We do have a call with Michael tomorrow. So maybe refining some of that, but the ones that are being submitted to DOT are Casablanca, West Vine, and Lenora. Like I said, we may move them around a little bit. We'll keep y'all in the loop as to the responsiveness of DOT. We do know that they permitted these all over Charleston, so this shouldn't be anything unusual. Hopefully we'll make sure that those get done.
And the ones we highlighted here those are the ones that are going to DOT. They're still the ones in town that we're gonna be
Yes.
dealing with as part of the paving. I wanna make sure everybody understands that. These
Yeah.
are two different paths. The ones obviously in town, we have full control over when they get installed. These are the ones that have to go through the process of the DOT, where we have to have an engineering
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
design work and with that to get it submitted.
And I know that we've met with the resurfacing contractor to discuss the creation of those speed humps in those areas where the town owned roads. So.
In regards to those areas, those proposed areas for speed humps, is there a way of obtaining traffic counts on those roads?
DOT does annual traffic counts. I don't know that they do them specifically on Casablanca. I think I've seen the counters out on Westvine. I know they've been out in Lenora.
I've seen them back there. yes.
And if you check the SCDO web DOT, and I can find the link, you could get the annual counts for wherever they traditionally put
And I
those
said that
things.
also because that would probably support the need also with the volume of traffic that's in there. It would probably support, you
Right,
know,
and that's the
what-
feedback, once we submit these to DOT for installation.
And Michael will have that as part of his packet anyway.
Yes.
Michael probably would have done that research. to make
And
sure
Chief,
that,
correct me if I'm wrong, we did have counters, we did have a counter with that traffic trailer, I think we put out before, but typically a single lane traffic count, that, the tube.
I don't think Chief heard you.
Oh,
He was Daisy.
well, we have the ability to do some traffic counts ourselves with the tube associated with the old speed trailer.
We did.
Okay, and we can do those also if we need to. We had a second call with Ward Edwards on at the end of September to discuss the pathway and corridor for the installation of the trail through the port property, so we're waiting response to that. Obviously, that's something that we've been working with for quite some time, and Ward Edwards has had as well. West Paris Avenue, full survey and ditch work in hand. Still doing some survey verification with Four Waters. They're finalizing some design documents. We may have to do some maneuvering based upon some of the existing power equipment that's on site. Wouldn't have been real cost effective to relocate some of that, so I think we'll get it done. We'll do a little bit of a redesign, and then obviously Low Country Council of Governments is making sure all of our reporting's up to speed. Same thing with the drainage work in the villages area. Surveying consultants out doing that work. Based upon those surveys, we will start design work for the reconstruction or re-implementation of the drainage throughout the village area. We have a meeting scheduled for Friday with Four Waters and Tiller to discuss the public input we received for the Paris Avenue streetscape. We'll kind of work through those documents, the public input, and some of the design work and some of the selections relative to some of the equipment, kind of give you guys a complete master plan based upon all of that input. 12th Street school parking, also still waiting on survey, a lot of survey work. Same with the other section of 12th Street on the other side of Paris Avenue. Casablanca, Atlas is out. We should receive the final survey work at the end of October. We'll do some sort of evaluation of what the potential could be for the town in terms of costs for that particular project based upon the survey work and what we're going to have to do there. But we're still suspecting probably 6 or 7 figures for that drainage work. Submitted the master plan grant request through RIA. That was submitted back in the 1st of September, so we're waiting on the answer for that. We resubmitted the larger Paris Avenue streetscape community development block grant. That was done on September 15th, so we're waiting to hear back from them as well. Sanitary sewer Rebo Road master plan. I know there's been some discussions back and forth. We know that there was somewhat of a plan previously done by an engineering firm, but I think we're looking for a more complete plan. And I think they're receptive to that, particularly since we were probably going to put some of our ARPA dollars towards the implementation of the sewer along Rebo Road.
Has the new chief engineer reached out to you to set up a meeting?
There's been a little bit of scheduling. I know that we're trying to get everybody in town. I think we're looking probably sometime in October, as of the last email I got from them. And then, as I mentioned, staff met with the Blythe to discuss the start of the repaving work. Obviously, we had hoped that they would have already started, but they're working on another contract in the city. You probably read a little bit about it. They're doing night work right now. They're still anticipating being well within the contract period. You will probably see them in October, near the end of October, prepping for that roadwork installation, resurfacing. I don't think there's anything else to that. Okay. All right.
Are we gonna be able to produce a map that we can put online to show people what streets are being done?
And we're gonna do the same thing we did with sidewalks. There'll be door hangers, there'll be
Door hangers,
notifications,
good.
all of that input.
Right.
But obviously, when we get closer, that's when we'll notify people. We don't wanna do it now.
No.
Way out in front of it.
They've already staged
And we
the
met with them,
equipment.
they anticipate kind of to do it in blocks, so there's no kind of randomness to it. Way to get into an area, that's what they're gonna do, move on to the next one, so.
So, Van, do we have any idea when West Paris will get sewer? I've been asked twice, in the last week, so I just kinda wanted to, they,
Stormwater sewer?
West, yeah.
Storm-
They don't have sewer, they're all on,
Septic.
septic.
No,
I'll have to pull the map up, but I think there's a fair amount of sewer that's almost
some-
immediately
get some
adjacent to
addresses.
that.
I got the addresses.
yeah, let's look at that
I got
one.
them.
I thought we had put in some something recently.
Yeah, I'm remembering that from my previous
Because,
life.
no, because,
I'll have
let's
to show
get
you the
that-
map where it actually is.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I
They
do want
may
to
not
know.
know that they're right on sewer.
Find out which one's
Yeah.
wrong.
Safe Harbor, Brooke held a meeting recently with our engineer to discuss the rebuild of the shrimp dock. Obviously, as part of the original permit process with Safe Harbor, we moved forward with the demolition. They hopefully will be getting an update or the permit itself for the marina within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And based upon that final permit, that'll drive the design for the reconstruction of the shrimp dock. We initially had that, what was called the backwards F that was approved. After talking to some of the shrimpers, it's not the most sensible configuration. And so we're looking at a design, which I've mentioned several times now, that kind of replicates what we had previously, maybe a little bit further out, and obviously significantly improved. More of a floating system rather than the fixed pier with fenders for the commercial vessels, and then a portion for day docking. So,
You just answered my question.
there you go.
It'll be suitable for shrimp boats.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've talked with Duncan O'Quinn about a design, and he suggested the floating with the fender system. So it just gives you a lot more flexibility with the dock itself.
Didn't you say too, when y'all were talking about that it would be easier for the boats to swing in and swing around,
Yes.
the shrimp boats?
And will it go out into the creek more?
I would hope we push it out a little further, because if you notice where the dock was in the floater or the day dock for Fish Camp, if they had boats on their floating dock, any shrimp boat on the inside would have had issues getting in and out.
Right.
So it needs to be pushed further out into the channel just to create a little bit more maneuverability. for
Which
those
was
boats.
something that Safe Harbor was pushing for their marina, so they were pushing the limit about how far you could go out, so once that limit is set for them, then we can kind of piggyback on that limit and move out.
Right. Yeah, because one of the rules of thumb is you basically can push out about a third. Then you got the channel as a third, and the other side takes up a third. Obviously, there's nothing on the other side, but because of federal channel funding issues, I think the Corps of Engineers were reluctant to allow Safe Harbor to push out more than a third unless they were willing to address the designation of our channel as a federal commercial channel. So.
I think that's a good move to do that. I mean, to put it out a little bit, because when the boats sunk down there, I mean, you couldn't have got to them if you wanted to, because we couldn't make that big swing with all those boats, so it's very important.
So it will not be the backwards F. It'll be a floating system with floats and fenders and pushed out a little bit more.
So we're hoping
A
for,
little bit more suitable for what we want to get done, or for the use, I guess.
Second Florida Police Department, I think that's moving along. I think they were more than 50% complete.
Pushing 80, I would say.
Pushing 80. So if any of you want to go by and take a look at it, more than welcome to.
yep.
I think you send me some pictures today. I'll try to circulate to those that don't have an opportunity to go by. We touched on a lot of the capital projects, but Brooke has included in your folders kind of an updated status on all of those. So Loco, we met recently with some board members and the personnel that are managing the housing effort. There seemed to be a little confusion over what the priorities were. in terms of funding and more favored ways of doing affordable, attainable, we call it missing middle housing. There seemed to be less of a focus or concern by the municipalities to advocate for tax credit projects, and more of a focus on bridge funding for maybe some of the projects that were coming online. I think the message was delivered pretty loud and clear. I think there was some lack of communication from the survey work to the board members, but they understand that now. So I think there'll be a kind of renewed focus on other methods of constructing housing rather than the tax credit programs. And that's typically what you see. We've got, Shell Point Apartments and a few of the others. We create this tax credit program at the state level, and basically what happens now is they're entitled to those tax credits for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. But once those tax credits expires, they have the ability then to convert those to market rate, and that's what we're seeing. And I think there was concern by some of the municipalities that they would like to see the life expectancy or the time frame for those units to be extended a little bit more. There was some concern that they time out, and then we just lost the unit. So that's it. Legal, we are looking to retain new legal counsel for the Burton appeal. We did speak with an attorney, came very well recommended, and got a copy of kind of his terms today. I want to review, and then I'll brief y'all on that. But he's kind of hit the ground running. We've made him aware of the file, which is quite extensive since we've been in litigation with Burton before I got here in 2002.
Forever.
And then finally, something you already touched on was road resurfacing. We talked about that a little bit, hopefully starting in the end of October, fingers crossed. You'll see them out there, and it'll be a well-publicized list of where they will be working in Outwood. That's all I got.
Council, questions for staff?
No, sir, I have none at this time.
No question.
Thank you. Pretty
Very good,
comprehensive.
very good. Let's take a look at next week's council agenda.
We will have a presentation next week by the Beaufort County First Responders, in particular Virginia Marshall with Beaufort County EMS about their food drive. So I don't want to steal any thunder there, but just want to make you aware of it. Initially, we were potentially going to have Safe Harbor here, but don't have any real confirmation on that yet. We'll go to first readings, 2023-17. An ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 10 parcel 0103. This is property located at 1102 13th Street. What you see on the screen is a map. It's in yellow or green, or whatever it actually looks like.
Fluorescent.
It is in compliance with the sidewalk construction program. Yeah, can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, any questions on that?
What's that little spit of land between 1102 and 1104? What is that? Just that little cutout there.
One house, yeah.
The house in there?
That's one of the original 25-foot lots. There were lots of them in this town.
It's a what?
It's 30-foot wide, single-family lot.
30, I thought it was 25, 30, okay.
So are these the street address, 1102, 1104?
1102.
Sorry. Oh, the
Yeah,
the
those are the
small lot,
addresses.
I believe it's 1104B,
A or
because
B,
there was
yeah.
no available
Okay.
address between the two
Gotcha.
lots.
That's what I was wondering. It's like, how do you number that?
Yeah.
We
There's a
have to get
driveway along
creative
the
when it
larger
comes to
lot that
those.
goes behind for access.
Okay, that's fine.
It is 13.
Yeah, excuse me.
It's Madrid.
Congratulations.
Okay.
2023-18, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 10, parcel 0155. This is property at 1210 Madrid Avenue, yeah, adjacent to 13th Street.
It's opposite of the last.
Opposite corner, yep. Any questions?
That's,
All right. Then we will have one that we're working on, we'll put together for next week, is 2023-19, and we'll have the draft of it. It's also another sidewalk conveyance.
So there's a potential for a third
Yes.
sidewalk.
Yeah,
So
just wanted to
C.
make you aware of it. All right, second readings, 2023-14, an ordinance annexing to the town of Port Royal approximately 37.8 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 100, map 28, parcels 121A and 146. This is located at 61 Brookins Path. This is Bridges Preparatory School. You can see the properties that are kind of surrounded by the yellow line. They are obviously within the town's growth boundary. The requested zoning, which is covered in 2023-15, is in compliance with the future land use map. The request was T3 neighborhood. Both the annexation and the designation of zoning were approved or recommended by the Metro Planning Commission.
And we've already conducted the public hearing on these?
No, that'll
Oh,
be
that's next week?
Yeah, next week.
So there'll be a public hearing next week
Yes.
and then the second reading?
Okay. And there we go. And then I'll just move on to 2023-16. An ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate development within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 0095. This is property located at 1310 London Avenue. This is a kind of a schematic of what's anticipated. We've had a discussion about this one previously. It is 2 feet wider than the typical 8-foot conveyance. We have done some that are wider than the typical 8-foot conveyance before. This is done basically to provide a little bit more flexibility to address some of the trees on site, to accommodate moving those homes around potentially to save more trees. Is that correct?
Yeah, and to avoid the wetland buffer on the east side, to make sure that they can do all the streetscape improvements, street planting, street parking, and sidewalk without interfering with the wetland.
this is the former Deloach property, right?
Correct.
And all these buildings are gonna go on there.
17, isn't it? 17?
What will become of the house?
I think the house will be demolished.
Just demo,
Yeah.
and all those buildings in there, same?
Unless you
Yeah,
want-
the buildings back there would be demolished as
Unless
well.
I can get them if I want?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there, I'm just telling you now.
I know, I'm telling you.
It'll salute you when you
There's some
walk by.
history in those buildings.
Yes,
I'd like
there
to
are.
walk through them at least.
Nice little garage back there, if you wanna.
And that's wetland future pond. Will that connect with duck blind?
Won't connect, so the plan is to do a pedestrian path along the 13th right-of-way after the alley access ends, and the rest of it, so they'll do a little bit of a boardwalk or something. We haven't gotten that far in design exactly how to
guess-
get over the wetland.
Right.
But there will be pedestrian access through those two, the duck blind pond and this wetland.
So if memory serves me correct, this is right, this impacts from the Cypress wetlands, this flows down, flows down, flows down, and then flows out.
Yeah, and so
So
part,
this is the very end, right, by duck line, and then it flows out from there.
right, yeah. And so these improvements will be of a benefit to that whole system.
So it's in the
clean
back
this up.
area, when the duck blinds ends.
Right.
And then you have that pond
Right.
that surrounds them, and then Vernon's property, old
Yep.
property. Right through there, because we've had to redo it a couple
Yeah.
of times to open it up to the water, because it wouldn't drain.
And then you've got that old cart path that runs through there.
Yes, that's where the pedestrian path will remain
Okay.
after the development,
Yeah.
so.
Which is really the old 13th Street right away, right?
It is.
Right.
It's the old 13th Street right away.
One of the first things I had to deal with in 2002 when I got here is Vernon had sued the town over the connectivity of these two wetlands.
Yep.
And we had to install a pipe to ensure that connectivity.
Is one freshwater and one saltwater?
No,
Okay.
no,
They're
they're
both
both,
brackish?
one can be brackish, depends on the tide.
Right.
If the tide comes back through
Right.
that.
Well, I remember it used to
that
have-
pond.
Yeah.
Didn't that, because didn't, the
What's those cattails on
preserves,
it?
didn't it come under the road and come through the preserves also from the drainage over there, comes across?
Yeah, it
and
starts
goes
way up at the
behind
preserve
the
apartments.
Cypress and then goes across,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
I always thought it was fresh because it had cattails in it. And I think they grew in
Yeah,
saltwater.
Which
but if
only
you get a
goes
certain
in the
tide, it can
top,
over,
back in.
flows back up in the
Right.
system.
And how many units is this? 1, 2, 3,
I think it was 17 or
17?
Yeah. They're small, southern living cottages.
The duck blind pond has a lot of growth on the kind of the backside that separates these two pieces of property. That growth is on the duck blind property, not gonna be cleared by this, or will it?
Correct, yeah, I mean, there's a, and again, we haven't looked at the details of that yet, this is just still in conceptual.
Okay,
But
that's
yeah,
fine.
we'll take a close look at what the vegetation is existing and make sure those buffers are still there, so
And
there's a little
hopefully
bit of.
this extra width we're giving us will allow us to.
Yeah, this extra width is really to accommodate things on the site, not to take away
Good.
things outside of the
Good,
site. yeah.
okay.
So that's probably about $40,000 to hook up to Beaufort Jasper Water, not
Yeah.
just for one, but for 17.
Right.
The comment that came to me last week.
Is there a lift station or something on the backside of that property? Or not?
It's on the other
Corner
side.
Richmond and
across-
14th is the
Yeah,
station.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry,
Corner Richmond, yeah, okay.
Richmond and 14th,
Gotcha.
smells wonderful.
Okay, that's all I've got.
only a couple times a year.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of trees, nice trees on that property.
Yep. Any other questions about this?
No, sir.
Okay.
Then we have a couple of action items for next week. We have an appointment to the redevelopment commission. You do have two applicants, Greg Brunson and David Stillwell. So council make a determination on that. Then memorandum of understanding between the town of Port Royal and Low Country Council of Governments, and this is for the Northern Beaufort County Transit Study. We've been asked to contribute $12,500, with the city providing the same amount and the county providing the balance of $25,000. That's a 10% match. The entire study is $250,000.
And that's allocated in the budget, no issues, concerns with that?
Yes.
Okay. On the appointments, if Steven's available, can we schedule the interview for next week?
Sure.
You know, drop it, because we're gonna have to drop it at this point for an appointment for next week, but if he can make it either next week or the following month's workshop to get that interview in. Questions about the agenda?
No, for
Any
me.
concerns, additions?
Just that, remember, we will be, or I will be in Columbia Wednesday, so I'll be coming back to get to the meeting. I think all of y'all are, what, you're not going, what, to Columbia? Yeah, so I'll be coming straight back
Yeah.
to make the meeting.
Well, we already made arrangements, Lisa, that
To
we
leave
she can leave-
early.
we can leave early.
You just need to let them know that you need to leave early.
Am I scheduled for that?
No.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You could have,
Okay. I've already completed that, that's
I
right.
know,
Okay.
So,
me and Kevin.
important dates and information, Wednesday, October 11th, public hearing, 6:30 PM. Also on the 11th is our regular scheduled council meeting. On Monday, the 9th, we have our first accommodation tax meeting at 5:30 PM. Then real quickly, on Tuesday, October 17th, from 4:30 to never ending at 5:30 PM is the redevelopment commission meeting. Monday, October 23rd is municipal election commission meeting at 5:30 PM. And then Sunday, October 29th is trunk or treat from 3 to 5 PM. And just to preempt this, we will get lots of calls asking us when the town holds Halloween, and it is always on October 31st.
Okay. Trunk or treat is not a replacement for Halloween. That's just an event.
Give me the details on the ATAX meeting again, please, the date and the time.
It's the 9th at 5:30.
5:30.
Yes. It'll be more informational, kind of familiarizing them with.
That's the first meeting, right?
Yeah, we have Ashley from MASC coming to make that presentation to them.
You send us a calendar back and go on that one.
Any questions about dates? Anything anybody would like to add that you know of?
People do ask and people donate candy.
Oh, they need some
of it
donations?
is, yeah, candy for.
Candy for
the
trunk or treat?
We have a box located here at the town.
I saw that on
Yeah.
Facebook. All right, so we have two box locations for candy for trunk or treat. One is here in Town Hall, the other is at Police Department. If anybody can donate candy to be given out that day, please do. We'll, trust me, we will hand out everything you give. So, let's do our best to get that out. Thank you, Mary Beth. for reminding us of that. At this point, Holly will open it up to public comment. Please remember to keep your comments addressed to council, and comment session is 3 minutes, and there is a timer up there to help you keep your thoughts focused on a 3-minute time limit. I did have one person who applied, Trish Fidrich. Trish, come on up.
I didn't use a stopwatch this time.
Yeah.
I didn't use the stopwatch.
You did good. You were right on it last
4
time.
seconds already.
We all gotta start her over.
Good evening. I'm Tricia Fidrich, 1016 12th Street. I'm here again to reiterate my concern about the direction in which the port development is heading. I'm not exactly sure of the direction, as there is no plan to reference. And why is that? Where is the development heading? Well, let's look. It seems like it's going right back to an industrial complex. The concrete terminal has come full circle. Dock materials are being manufactured and constructed, but not for Port Royal docks. It's a staging area for other marinas. We have massive industrial cranes dotting the skyline. There is no escaping the sight of them. No matter where you are, you see gargantuan metal industrial structures. When you transit a bridge and you look over to downtown Beaufort, what do you see? Sailboat masts and steeples, not industrial cranes. Boat repairs that may include sandblasting, bottom painting, epoxies, fiberglass, resin, industrial again. Fences, once again. In December 2021, Jason Hogg, the Chief Investment Officer for Safe Harbor, was quoted in the Island Packet as saying that Port Royal would be a world-class boating destination. This is not looking like a world-class boating destination. Regarding the Bluff development, Mr. Darby of the Beach Company presented a draft plan that included approximately 200 townhomes and 30 single homes, all rentals, all 100% rentals, a wall of townhouses. Mr. Darby commented on soil contamination on the site. I don't pretend to understand, but it seems that maybe there's less soil mitigation required to build a rental community compared to an individually owned property. But where is that contamination and how pervasive is it? Is it real? He also stated that the newly built rentals will fit the fabric of the community. What Mr. Darby fails to realize is the fabric of the Port Royal community is created by its citizens and their involvement in this town, not just the architecture. If you literally cannot put roots down because of soil contamination, and you metaphorically cannot put roots down because we are hoping for at least a year's lease from our residents, how does that fit the fabric of Port Royal? Council members, the people of Port Royal have been patient. Safe Harbor purchased that port property in November of 2021, almost 2 years ago. Where is the master plan? Has Safe Harbor met all the milestones as outlined in the development agreement? If not, what has this council done to hold them to that agreement? The people of Port Royal deserve a greater level of transparency and communication. The residents and the businesses in this town need hope. Please provide that, and thank you so much for listening tonight.
She's trying to make that minute.
Thank you, Trish. Anybody else have any public comment? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say real quick, I'm sure we've all seen it, but we got executive session coming up, and usually nobody is here when we get done with that. But we did have a tragedy last week on Columbia Avenue with a fire in town, and a long-term Port Royal resident unfortunately passed away in that fire. Linda Bailey, she was in my Rotary Club for decades. I spent a lot of time with her. So she was a really sweet lady. Like I said, long-time Port Royal resident. It was just a horrible situation, and just asked that everybody, keep her family and her friends in the prayers. So that's it.
Thank you.
Her sister works in the town, and we see her every day, so
Yes,
please keep.
the mail lady, yes.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to go to executive session.
I move that we go into the executive session to discuss legal matters or advice related to the Port Royal Development Agreement and PUD.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. No action will be taken. Thank you for joining the October workshop for the town of Port Royal. Good night.